how has fatigue affected your daily life since being diagnosed with PKD?
So first, I would say that prior to my transplant, fatigue grew gradually over time as my kidneys failed and I could do less and less. And I tried to hold on as best I could with getting IV iron and, trying to build myself up to keep the fatigue at bay. But it's the less or the few less, I guess, less or fewer, less your kidneys are functioning, the more fatigue. It just goes in hand. It seems like it goes hand in hand. And post-transplant, I have not had that. I'm 15 years out and very lucky that I, work full time, have a very full life. And
could you maybe expand a little bit on, you said like you, and maybe this was when you did your introduction, but you were saying that you gave up more and more things or along the way as your fatigue got worse, or you were thinking about, well, why do I need a nap on Saturday? Could you say anything about some of those?
Yeah, and it's so gradual. It happens so gradually that you kind of compensate little bits at a time, and you have to allow yourself the grace to do that, knowing that it's health related and it's not, I'm not just lazy that I need a nap on a Saturday, that I actually need to refuel myself and get the energy back for the rest of the day. But it was little things like maybe not even just a nap, just laying down for 5 or 10 minutes and like doing meditation or something just to regroup or re-energize to keep going.
Maybe I fall victim to, I don't know what I don't know until I have a transplant or it gets really bad, because it's over time. But I feel like I have a normal amount of fatigue for my age and what I'm, my activity level. But again, like, I don't know. I coach, I play sports myself and work, right? We have 3 kids. And so to Kristee's point, like that just seems like everyday life of being a parent these days, right? So I don't attribute that, but hypothetically in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, a nap would be really amazing, but it just never happens. And I think I'll probably get to the point where my body will say, you will take a nap or you're going to be in a really bad spot. So I just haven't hit that spot yet, but it is something that I think about because I do want to live an active lifestyle and continue to coach and do those things with my kids.
That's a really good point. Kevin, I'm wondering if because you have such an active lifestyle, you do play sports and you're coaching and all of that, do you think that has helped you manage fatigue a little bit more?
Oh, 100%. I know that hydration, blood pressure, lugging around extra weight, that's all stuff that is generally bad, if you're not doing that anyway. And so I've been very conscious of keeping my weight down and my activity level up to try and combat any of those side effects that I know are going to happen at some point anyway.
What about tips and strategies or lifestyle changes that you would like to share with others to help them manage fatigue? And maybe it's the growing fatigue, Kristee, that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I said before, I think just give yourself the grace to say that it's not, I'm not lazy, I need this time for my own benefit that's also going to benefit others, that I'm a better person after I rest and after I take care of myself, that I can keep going and then I will be healthier in the long run. And just to have that mindset that you're not, it's not selfish, you actually physically need that. It's not a it's a physical need that needs to be addressed.
It's probably beneficial to have some kind of schedule if you can maintain it, meaning in anything, like I can't just like binge sleep for 2 days straight and hope that all that sleep will just disperse over the week and I'll be fine, right? So maybe it's you really try and get to bed by 10:30, you're up at 7, and you know that every day between 1:30 and 2 you need to take a 30-minute power nap, rather than, hey, on weekends I can sleep 12 hours 2 nights in a row and that'll help me out, but I don't do anything to care for myself during the week. I think that's something that I'll probably really try to focus on is how can I have some kind of cadence or some kind of schedule to make sure that I'm, to your point, Kristee, giving myself the grace or the time that I need because of the disease, not because I'm lazy and just want to take a nap, right?
Are there particular activities or exercises you feel that are helpful in maintaining energy levels? Maybe we've talked about this a little bit, but any additional thoughts there?
Through the summer, because it was so nice in the mornings, I would be up at the park half a mile down the road to walk before the day, and I felt like that invigorated me for the day. Like, first of all, it's over. Like, my exercise is over for the day. I can, because I'm going to be too tired at 5 or 6 when I'm finished working. That's not going to happen for me. So if I get it over with, but it also gives you more energy. I think you feel better after you exercise. You're going to have more energy. But now that it's getting colder, I've gone indoor to swim, and that has also helped me. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Anything to get moving. I mean, you just need a mat and a floor, and you can do floor exercises, or yeah, YouTube has videos during COVID. Oh my gosh, I was going crazy. But the first start, I was doing marching videos on YouTube for lack of anything. I'm like, I got to keep moving. I have to do something. They had walking and marching. So you can do it just right standing in front of your computer. Stop for 20 minutes and do that. So
yeah, I think the point there is just keep moving, do something.
yeah. And it's an energy boost. You get, the whole endorphins and energy thing.
Yes. Let's see. In terms of sleep, have you found any sleep hygiene practices or routines that contribute to better rest and reduced fatigue?
I joke that I'm on sabbatical from running, but I'm a runner, done marathons, relays, all that stuff. And sleep is so important for so many things. And it's at least with running, it almost trumps anything else, including eating, training, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you can get into a good routine, it's hard, but I think that makes a world of difference if you're get your body into a routine and you get the amount that you feel that you need.
I'm a horrible sleeper, but I think one of the things that I have found, my kidneys are large. So when I lie down, it's uncomfortable. So I have gotten better sleep now that I have a wedge, that I sleep on an angle and I'm a little bit up and they're not up against my lungs. They're down where they usually are during the day, where I can feel, breathe and feel fine. But, sometimes if you have large kidneys and you lie flat, it's not comfortable. And of course that's going to interfere with sleep. So I recommend the wedge. Anybody out there that's listening, I recommend the wedge. It's done wonders. But yeah, I think that and I do like a guided meditation to go to sleep, and that just kind of turns off my head from the day and lets me relax.
I actually have a platform so I can raise the head and the foot, and I don't know how I slept through all that time before I got my kidneys out. And I still sleep that way. It was just super important. What role does stress play in your experience? And have you discovered any effective stress management techniques?
I think it kind of snowballs, right? If you aren't getting the sleep you need, or you're feeling like you're worthless because you need to take a break because you're fatigued, then that can build up, anxiety, because you might not be able to get things done that you should or need to, or feel like you need to. And then that adds, stress to your life. So I think it probably snowballs, if that's kind of what you're alluding to. But, seeing my dad was an amazing caretaker for 25 years, just amazing. Because my mom had, osteoporosis, a brain tumor, breast cancer, kidney issues, obviously 2 transplants, liver. She had over 50 surgeries in 25 years. A lot of them were major. And so she was down and out. Her mind was very sharp, but I think stress can be, can come, especially if you're not able to do a lot of those things as a provider or as a partner, that adds a lot of stress to your partner, the other people in the household, or it can potentially. So, I mean, I don't feel like my mom was overly stressed, but it was definitely a strain on my dad at times.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And even though, same, my husband, great caretaker, but your mom felt stressed too, because nobody wants to do that to somebody. Nobody wants somebody, and nobody wants to be taken care of. I mean, most people, let me change that. Most people don't want to, and you feel that, you feel, yeah, I'm horrible about being taken care of. I will crawl on, glass if I have to do it for myself, as opposed to have somebody do it for me. So a lot of people, I'm sure, internalize. I'm not saying your mom necessarily did, but I think a lot of people internalize that, and that's a stressor, just feeling not a burden, but someone needs to do things that you would normally want to do for yourself.
Hey, my mom was born and raised in Pittsburgh, so she's got that blue collar grit like you do. She's stubborn. We would say at her funeral, we said she ruled with an iron fist, but loved with an open heart. And it would be very hard for her to get service. Like, she didn't like it. She just didn't verbalize it. She kept a lot of that inside. So if you break a leg, like, okay, I can't move around for a couple of weeks and I'll use crutches. But this is something that's like a lot more than 2 weeks. And so I'm sure that had a toll on you and had a toll on her. We just didn't see it as much. And plus, we're two boys that were teenagers, so we probably weren't as astute and aware either,
Well,
But
plus, if she's the way you said she was, she wouldn't want you to see it.
yeah,
She's
100%.
just gonna swallow that down and just let it bother her internally, and let you guys think that everything's great.
100%.
I think that's very true of moms and their kids, like not wanting their kids to see what you're going through. And that's where the grit comes in and kind of cover it up.
Yep.
I think somebody was going to say something about stress and pain.
I still have times that I have cysts that are rupturing and that I'm in a lot of pain. And a lot of times just it's a small thing, but breathing through it, being mindful of it, stretching. There's times that, like, if I feel like the stretching somehow, or changing positions, it may relieve the pain, and just the breathing through can help relieve the stress involved with it.
Yes, definitely. And that's kind of the next question is stress management techniques. So breathing through it, changing positions helps. Any other stress management? You mentioned meditation. Kristee, I think you did. Are there other ways that you relieve stress?
I mean, I saw my mom, it could be as simple as getting fresh air and going for a walk. Again, like, maybe you have a morning routine, you grab your cup of coffee and you go out, at 9 a.m. and you go for a walk around the block. And then at early afternoon after lunch, you go for a walk. But I'm a big proponent in athletics or whatever you can do. So whether it's walking, jogging, running, I mean, those endorphins that are released when you play hockey or lift weights or do something that challenges your body, if you can do it, like, 100%, I can feel that physically.
Sometimes it sounds such a simple thing, but like a phone call with a friend that I haven't talked to for a while, just making a connection, you just kind of feel better. It just kind of alleviates a little bit of stress, just catching up with somebody that you haven't. We just get so wrapped up in our health and what we have to do and how we have to accommodate our lives accordingly, that sometimes it's just getting off of the rat race and chopping off for a minute and connecting to somebody. Like, I went antiquing with a friend for a couple hours on Saturday. It felt great. Like, I came home in such a good mood. I wasn't thinking about stress. I wasn't thinking about, I knew I took my medications. I knew, all the things that you check off in your mind, but it was such a joy that it's just on a release.
If you need to communicate your fatigue level to friends or family or really anyone, how do you do that? How do you find that you were able to do that? And I don't know, Kristee, if that's been a while, as we were talking before your transplant, but either one of you have any thoughts on that? Is that hard to do? We kind of discussed that a little bit, like, give yourself some grace.
Yeah. My husband knows, like, if I like quiet or I'm like kind of, I'll say, it's just my kidneys. He's like, okay. Like, and he just gives me that space because if it's just like my signal, like it's my kidneys, just I'm dealing with it right now. I'm breathing and I'm, doing what I need to do to get through it. And he knows just to back off. And I will ask for help. Even if it kills me, I will ask for help if I need it. But yeah, it's just, it's like having just the communication to be able to say it's kidney related. Like I need to rest. It's my time to take for myself because of my health or whatever. Just the open communication for that.
Yeah, I think one thing with PKD is it's not like external things. Like I've had a bunch of, cancer cells and stuff taken off my face and you can see a bandage or something. But like if you have PKD, it might just look like you're laying around because you're tired, because you can't physically see that. So it's probably, again, I haven't experienced this yet, but when you get to that point, it's so important to have some kind of, like you have your husband just like his kidneys, it's just like he knows, and then he knows, like be able to communicate to those around you, because it's hard, especially if somebody doesn't want to talk about it, because what if you're experiencing it and you say, oh, I have PKD and it's my kidneys. They're going to be, oh, what's PKD? And then it could take you down a rabbit hole that you may not want to talk about. But I think that's something that, I'll have to think about, is how I'm going to address that with people, because I want to try and put on my best face, right, when I'm at work or whatever. And if you can't see that, I'm having issues just by looking at me, there might be some, nonverbal communication that isn't matching up. Like, well, why does he always need to take a nap? Or why does he always have 30 minutes blocked off on his calendar at this time? What's he doing?
Yeah. And I was going to say, it's something you definitely don't want to address when you're in the middle of it. Like if you're tired, like you definitely, or, I really need to rest, or I'm really in pain right now. That's not the time you want to address it either. It's kind of, you need to say it beforehand, because then, you're just going to probably rip off somebody's head because but if people know beforehand and have the open communication, that to know when I say I need time, what it's about, and not, it hopefully would not be questioned. Like you said, like if your calendar, or if you have to end a day early or whatever, that there's not going to be a question about it.
Have you ever brought these symptoms up with your healthcare provider or your healthcare team? And how did you navigate this discussion?
Is part of the package. I just feel like that's, and maybe that's wrong on my part. Maybe I should say, maybe there's something that could tell me, or maybe, or maybe someone out there that doesn't know about meditation or the ledge or something, that, just information is power. Maybe I should have reached out and said, it could have been years ago that he could have said, well, maybe if you sat up a little bit to sleep instead of having to do that for that long. So I should have been more proactive and asked questions, obviously.
Has your healthcare provider given any specific recommendations or interventions to address your symptoms related to pain, sleep, stress?
Not for me. My kidneys are still working, but about 50%. So I haven't really seen any impact, and other than the low sodium, low protein, keep your blood pressure low, exercise, that kind of stuff, drink lots of water, but those are just kind of standard anyway.
As I got towards the end of, when I was heading towards the transplant, I did get IV iron. I did give myself I don't know what the policy or protocol is anymore. I gave myself Procrit shots, just trying to hold on to to stay awake, I guess, because of the fatigue, just trying to give myself a little boost at that point. But other than that, everything that had given me was medically driven, and not, nothing, environmental or anything that I could do other than the medication.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an important point to make, though, that, whatever recommendations your physician had were really around, is there something medically I can do about that? Can I, is your iron low? We can fix that, which does impact how tired you are. Any other thoughts around, this topic of fatigue, managing fatigue?
Well, I'll just have one thing, and Kevin hit upon it, with his dad. It's having a support system, having people to reach out to, and whether it's fatigue or pain or whatever, having that support system. Anything, any of the PKD topics that we could come up with, that's going to be key in yeah, not going it alone, or people that you can reach out at the foundation, or friends, or, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a family member, but yeah, sometimes family members are more convenient and sometimes have been through it. You know, if it's a, you know, unlike me, if it's a generational thing, that it could be seen and know how to take care, or know the symptoms, or know how everyone's different, but kind of have a better idea of how to what's expected, even though everybody's different, but a little bit more familiarity with it.
Fatigue, and it could probably go with anything, is your partner or your caretaker. Just, and I've seen that there's discussions in topics that discuss, but I think that's so important, like how they can be educated on what does fatigue mean and what to look out for and the why, right? It's not like, hey, I'm tired, I need to go take a nap. It's like, hey, my kidneys aren't functioning, it's shutting down, and this is why I need it, right? Whether it's fatigue or some of the other things, I think it really can take a toll on people. Like, I think of my dad, like, he had no idea what he was doing. He's a nuclear engineer, so he's very analytical. So I think he picked up on all the data really quick, like once the doctors were telling him. But like my wife, I mean, she married into it. I mean, I've known my whole life, so I've always kind of been preparing for that day when I need to go on dialysis or have a transplant. But if you marry into somebody, like, it's all of a sudden, like, it's very overwhelming for her, and it does kind of stress and add a burden to her, because what if I can't work? Then is she going to be working? Is she going to be, you know, the income provider for a period of time or indefinitely? And so any education around any of these topics and what to expect, and for them to have a support group as well, I almost feel could be even more critical, because obviously it's important for us, but we're the ones seeing the doctors. We're the ones that, once we found out, we've kind of mentally had to prepare and know it's going to be happening. But for them, it's kind of like you're going in blind, and you don't know. You haven't had those conversations. You haven't had the family member. You haven't seen what they've gone through. You don't know what your partner is feeling. So any education or support that they can have to kind of navigate those kind of questions, I think will help the partnership and go through that experience with somebody, if you do have somebody.
I know my husband wants more information. He wants to understand it. And, you know, as I go through things, I'll say, like, you know, this is just because, you know, I have to go to a dermatologist every year after my transplant. And he's like, why do you have to? I'm like, it's just because of my kidneys. It's just because of the transplant. And he wants to well, why? And I'm like, well, because my chance of cancer. So he, you know, having a partner that's also inquisitive and wants to know, and the resources are there, not just from you, not just from the person that has PKD, but the foundation or wherever they can get information.
What is the best way to offer the support and educational resources that you need as a patient, or that you feel like your caregivers need? What is the best way for the foundation to do that?
How? You have to go on the website, you have to look at social media, you have to be plugged in. So I feel like the foundation as a whole, you know, there's communities that you can talk to, you know, you can connect to me in Pittsburgh, you can connect to so-and-so and wherever. So the resources are there, and it's, you know, it's with finding volunteers, it's with finding, you know, so many things. You have to be the person that wants that information has to proactively look for it.
Well, I think this has been awesome. You guys made some really good points, and we just really appreciate it.